Coming to paperback and Kindle Unlimited, Isis, All That Glitters. The goddess next door takes on a bikini-clad bank robber in this action-packed, all-new Isis series adventure. Get Isis, All That Glitters in paperback and Kindle Unlimited this March. Last night, we saw the Oscar Okie Doke played on the black community one mo again. Now, as it relates to this 91st Academy Awards, it was on the surface looking like it was an attempt to try to make the Oscars look like they were so all about black people. But at the end of the night, we saw the same old racism and the same old politics being played on the black community. And I saw the Okie Doke coming as early as February of last year when I saw this campaign to go out here and try to create a whole new category so that Black Panther could win this Oscar that they planned on giving it, talking about best commercial film or best box office film or something like that. And I saw the Okie Doke being played right there, and we saw the Okie Doke played on the black community at last night's Oscars, because passively they were looking like they were all about diversity by giving people like Regina King her first Oscar, the two sisters who were working on Black Panther, one for costume design and set design, and Spike Lee getting an Oscar for best screenplay. All of these Oscars were based on the merit of the projects that the people worked on. However, after Spike Lee got his Academy Award for Black Klansman's screenplay, that's when we started to see the Academy show how aggressive it was about pushing its insidious racist narrative. And we started to see precursors of that early on in the night when we saw that dysfunctional Afro-American Negro wearing that dress. And then on stage, we saw another one of these Negroes putting on a dress. And that was another red flag for me related to this Academy Awards, because I started to see that this was not about promoting a diversity. This was all about pushing a narrative regarding the image of the black man. And the whole thing they wanted to do was try to show that they wanted to push this narrative regarding the effeminization of the black man and the homosexualization of the black man throughout the night. And this is one of the reasons why I believe Spike Lee was so completely disgusted and wanted to walk out after the announcement of the Best Picture winner, because the Best Picture winner was all about pushing that agenda in the black community. Now, the movie that won Best Picture was called Green Book, and this Green Book was a movie that featured one of these white men who was out here driving this black man around to these places that were in the Green Book as he was going on his musical tour. And what most people don't know is that the black man in the movie was a gay black man. So this whole night of so-called diversity was a complete slap in the face to the black community, because it was clear that the Academy was all about pushing the gay agenda on black men and trying to find new and fresh ways to emasculate and degrade the image of the black man. And this is why Spike Lee was so disgusted at the Oscars, because he thought he was going to come into his own, but what the Academy did was they gave him a participation award in that best screenplay so that they could go and slap him in the face later on, because The Black Klansman was a far superior film to The Green Book, but The Green Book fit the narrative the Academy has been pushing ever since Spike Lee got his first, people were first considering him for an Oscar with the classic screenplay, Do the Right Thing. And that year, 30 years ago, when I was in high school, the film that won Best Picture was Driving Miss Daisy. And that film was all about Morgan Freeman playing a buck dancing, bojangling, shuffling Negro to old white female Jessica Tandy. And 30 years later, Spike loses yet again to a film that is about a effeminate Negro who is being driven around by a racist white man. And this time, the extra insult is they put this effeminate homosexual Negro as the guy being driven around. So instead of it being driving Miss Daisy, it's driving Mr. Daisy. And it's a pimp hand directed right at Spike Lee, a pimp hand directed right at black manhood, and a pimp hand directed at black masculinity. So this year's Academy Awards is another pimp hand to black men, black manhood, and black masculinity. And Hollywood does this all under the guise of so-called diversity. They sit there and talk about how they are all about inclusion. They'll give the Black Women Awards on merit passively, but aggressively they take a pimp hand and slap black men in the face by having a black man in a dress on stage, and on the red carpet you have another Negro wearing a dress. And then you take the movie that was about black manhood and black men fighting the Ku Klux Klan, instead of honoring that movie with the Best Picture award in this so-called era of we hate Trump, they go out here and play it safe by going out here and pushing the same degrading agenda on black men, showing us that on either side, all we are dealing with is racism, but it's just the same racism on a different day as related to Hollywood. And it shows that Hollywood is more about perpetuating stereotypes regarding black people than it is about diversifying the African American image. Because it seems like there's only a certain type of image that gets, an Academy Award or considered for an Academy Award. And it's either these mammies, these brutes, these race dramas, or some effeminate black man or some black man playing in a movie of talking about race relations, but never a movie that delves in depth as related to black people or black culture. So a lot of these black folks, they sat there glued to their screens thinking that, oh, Black Panther actually had a chance of winning Best Picture. And again, I told you Negroes way back months ago and even a year ago that the Academy was planning an Oscar Okie Doke. And the Okie Doke was run on the Negro because the Negro thought, oh, Black Panther actually had a chance. Why would Hollywood want to create any sort of film and honor it that elevates the black male image and gives you any sort of image of positive black masculinity when it never has done that in the past? So all those people were sitting there, they were taken by the Academy, who was just using the Negro in the hopes of trying to bluster the falling ratings on this Academy Awards, a show that had no host because as it related to these Me Too people in the gay community, they didn't want Kevin Hart to host the Oscars. So they wanted to push their agenda on the show, and they wanted to use the black community as a way to bluster the ratings so that they could push their agenda at our expense. And that's what happened on last night's Oscars. We saw people pushing a gay agenda at the black community's expense, and then going out here and making it look like they wanted to include black people, when in actuality, all they wanted to do was use us to get ratings for their show, and by getting all these black people hopped up on the Black Panther hype. But the Black Panther hype, again, was just the Academy running a game on black people. And the Oscar Okie Doke was getting all these black people riled up to believe Black Panther had a chance at Best Picture, when in actuality, all they wanted to do was push that Green Book and push the gay agenda in the black community, the same way they did with Moonlight a couple of years ago. And it's not about showing you a strong, masculine, heterosexual black man, because when it relates to the Hollywood, their narrative is they want to see black men emasculated, they want to see black men degraded, and that's why we saw that Negro on the red carpet wearing a dress, and another one on stage wearing a dress, because it was all about trying to find a way to passive-aggressively create, push, and perpetuate negative images of black manhood and black masculinity. And that's why this Oscar has no value for me whatsoever. I go back to Sid Field and what he said in Screenplay, and what he said was that these awards are nothing more than a popularity contest, and it's clear to me that this popularity contest is not about rewarding black men on merit. Yes, they gave those sisters awards on the merits of their work, but as it relates to the image of black men and black manhood, it's clear to me that Spike Lee got robbed of the Best Director and Best Picture Oscars he should have received way back as far as '89 with Do the Right Thing, because Do the Right Thing was a cinematic classic which presented a powerful commentary on the black community. And instead of honoring Spike Lee for all of his hard work based on the merits, Hollywood decided to give him one big middle finger last night, and that middle finger showed Spike the slap in the face that he was getting, because many of these same people who were in that audience, who were clapping for him to talking about, well, you need to do something about Donald Trump, were the same people who gave him a middle finger when it was time to give him the honors he deserved on merit. So when I look at the Oscars, I see an award that has no value to me, because it's an award clearly not based on merit as related to the positive image of black men. It is not given to people who want to present a positive image of black men. It is not an award that is rewarded to people who want to present you a balanced image of black men. And it is not an award you can get if you want to present an image as a black man that is positive, based on merit. The only way you can receive any honor from this award, if you are a black man, is by dishonoring yourself. And if that's the way it is as related to this award, I want nothing to do with an Oscar ever again. If you'd like to see me make more videos like this, you can donate to my Patreon or my PayPal by clicking the link in the description box. And if you want to try some of my SJS Direct publications, like the ISIS series, the E-Steam series, John Haynes series, The Temptation of John Haynes, and the Spinsterella trilogy, you may do so by clicking the link to Amazon.com, and there you will find all of my positive African-American fiction in paperback and ebook. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited, ISIS, Imitation of Life. The Goddess Next Door helps a young black girl overcome racism during the era of Jim Crow in this Golden Age ISIS series adventure. Get ISIS, Imitation of Life in paperback and Kindle Unlimited today.